today I have with me author Holly Hudson, and I'm going to read you the names of her books because I couldn't memorize them all. But her YA novels are the Grace Steele novels, which I love. And then she has a contemporary romance book called Tess Bloom, another amazing book. And then in her nonfiction, she's got the Badass Single Mom's Survival Guide, which was very close to my heart. And I love them all, Holly. Thank you so much for talking to me. You're just like this writer extraordinaire, okay, in my book.
Oh, well, thank you, Michelle. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be talking to you this morning. So.
Well, I think that in order to write like that many variety of books, I mean, you just have to be so... it's such an amazing, like to be able to tap into each industry like that. I mean, it's really amazing. I can't wait to read more Grace Steele books, but I just can't. I mean, that book, I had it on my Kindle and I usually have the book. And unfortunately, me and Amazon had a little battle on when books should arrive. And I lost because they didn't get me my book in time. So I was reading them on Kindle, and I wish I'm going to show the cover for the Grace Steele and Tess Bloom because they are just crazy, and I couldn't wait. Well, here is the cover for the Badass Single Moms book. Can you see that? Oh, there we go. I mean, your covers are amazing. How do you do your covers? Do you do them?
No, I don't do them myself. For both the Tess Bloom and the Grace Steele series, I have been working with Judy Perkins of Concierge Literary Design, and she is fantastic. I cannot say enough about her work. Yeah. She's amazing. So anybody interested in great cover design without breaking the bank, too, I would say should definitely check out Concierge Literary Design. She's both on Facebook and on,
let me try to get Tess.
That's the website. There we go. Now you can see that.
Yeah, you can see it. And those ones are in hard print. They're not all in hard print, right?
No, but Grace Steele is coming very soon in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully Tess Bloom will be later this month available as print on demand, paperback. And the Badass Single Mom's Survival Guide should be up this week as print on demand, so that's available too.
Maybe that was the problem I had because that's the one I ordered to have a hardcover, and I don't know, they couldn't get it to me today, so maybe that's, maybe that was why.
It's just going live. I have to check. I didn't check this morning, so it should be in the next couple of days, if not already.
Well, okay, so Tess Bloom I read first, and that was amazing. I loved her, and I loved the book. But then I went to the Grace Steele, and you have a prequel, and then you have the first one. And, so I was torn, but I read the prequel first because I was like, well, maybe it will help. And so I did. But that book, I carried it around because it was on my phone. I'm in the grocery store line reading. Like, I could not put that book down. And I realized in myself that I am a YA novel reader more than, like you said, more adults are becoming, especially women too, I think. But I don't know. There's something about that genre that I really find myself attached to. And I was like, I couldn't believe how much, I'm like in line at Dunkin' Donuts reading your book. And it's such a compliment to you because, I just couldn't put it down and I can't wait. I hope you write many more of her.
Well, thank you. That's very inspiring, Michelle. Gosh. Yeah. I mean, YA is such a great genre. And I mean, I hate to even call it a genre, but I guess it is because, when I was growing up, I just read anything. And, we didn't really have those it wasn't like you went to the library, really went to the library and there was juvenile and adult, it wasn't really YA like we think about it today. So I just read from both, across all spectrums. And I really wanted to try to write something that didn't pander in any way or talk down to, young people. And also that really kind of, I think the way I envisioned it more was probably it was a little edgier into the new adult category, and as the series progresses, I do plan to make it a bit more mature and a bit edgier as it goes. But I thought it would just kind of start out with it keeping it strictly in the YA category.
Yeah, I just loved her. I really did. I'm like, I can't wait to read more about her. You know, I loved her story. And I was wondering, because you're about the same age as me, it's like, did you read Flowers in the Attic when you were
Oh, I think I did. Yeah.
Like that to me was because you're right. I remember being that age of, okay, which part of the library, like the juvenile books were then juvenile, but then the edgier adult books. But when I read those books, like I remember that was really edgy for the age that I was reading them, you know, that they were popular. And she wrote Lucy Andrews wrote like 12 of them. I mean, there were just a crazy amount. So you could just keep going. I love series. And I think that's why I'm like, yes, I can't wait to read more about Grace because I love series. I really do.
Well, I mean, they're hugely popular now. So, well, that's good to know. Yeah, I definitely read a lot of Judy Blume. You know, of course, very influenced
Danielle Steele. Danielle Steele at that time was huge too, back in the early 80s.
I didn't really read Danielle Steele, but of course I read, even when I was much younger, I read I read every single Nancy Drew.
Right.
So, you know, I kind of envisioned this as a sort of more contemporary take on, like Nancy Drew meets Veronica Mars.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, I didn't think of that. That is perfect. That's a perfect explanation of her.
And some people said that the Veronica Mars reference is too dated for young people today, and I don't know. So I think it's maybe for those of us adults that like to read YA, we can get that. But
yeah, but no, I'm trying to think of it. I guess it is. I guess my girls were reading that back in, you know, and they're in their 20s, so I don't know. But yeah, I know that YA also is like, when you think you're writing for middle school or high school, you're actually writing below that. You know, like the kids that are actually reading it are below what you think are reading.
I mean, that's just normal. I think any teenager wants to read about somebody who's at least a couple years older than them. Yes. And so that is definitely normal.
You know what I used to always think about is like, I remember when 17 magazine was out. My mom wouldn't let me get it till I was 17. And when I turned 17, I wanted Cosmo. Like, I didn't want 17.
All right. Oh, that's so funny.
By the time I was 17, I was like, I don't want to read 17 anymore.
Yeah, he was being too literal.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So anyway, your single mom's book touched my heart. I've been I was a single mom, and then I got married, and then I had 3 children, and then I was a single mom. We were in the military. He got transferred. We were young. It was young. And then, that's all I can say about that. And then I got married, had 3 more children, and then we got divorced like 5 years ago. And I never thought I would get divorced again, and I never envisioned myself being a single mom again. That was not in the plan. You know, but it never is. Who plans that? Nobody plans it.
No, not part of the plan either, but I figured I'd make the most of it, and I figured that after quite a few years of raising my son really on my own, really sole parenting because his dad lives across the pond in England.
Right.
You know, I've had to do absolutely everything myself and, you know, really rely on the support of my network and family and friends, but I just felt like I really had some at least nuggets of advice and wisdom that I wanted to share, especially with, I mean, the book is really geared towards, you know, newly single moms.
Right.
Because I think, you know, I certainly have a lot of single mom friends and they don't need to read this book. You know, they know what they're doing. We'll know what we're doing after a while. But when you first land in that position, you know, it's sort of overwhelming, whether you have 1 kid or 5. You just have what you have, and so you have to work with what you've got. Yes. And I just hope that it can be useful and just kind of like persevere. It's going to be okay. And I tend to be a very sort of go against the grain, against kind of conventional wisdom of what people tell you should do and think and feel. So I try to relay some of that in the book.
Well, that's the part I loved about it, because especially the first time around when I was a single mom, I was young. I was in my 20s, and I was in the same situation as you. My ex-husband was traveling the world in the military, so I had 3 young children, and I was working full-time, and I needed support. I had a next door neighbor who babysat for me on a dime, like, because I was working full time. And if I wouldn't have had, to this day, I still know the woman, because I look at her as like, she was like the second mom to my kids. And I needed that, like, I don't even know what I would have done without her. There were times that I couldn't pay her, like I was really, it was really, really tough. And she did it anyway. And
Yeah.
I think so. When I was reading that, I was thinking the same thing. A lot of the build your community and find, but I was scared. I was scared a lot. When you're young and you're put in that situation, and I'm sure you were too at that time, you're scared. You're like, how am I going to do this? I don't know how to do this. This wasn't like I said, we don't plan it. So.
No. But then, you get your groove and you find your rhythm, and you find that, your kids really can be okay. And, you don't need to kind of submit yourself to some stereotype of what a single mom is supposed to be, struggling all the time, raising errant kids. I mean, I just don't think that that's the reality. I mean, not for most of the single moms I know have been raising amazing kids. So, it's totally possible.
It's totally possible. And there are different, every circumstance is so different with the dad, because I didn't have to deal with him, just like you didn't have to, like, you weren't doing visitation. You weren't having to, do any of that. So that was completely different, and at the time I was really sad about it, because they didn't know him, and he would come in once a year and see them. Like, it was really until they were adults. And even now, like, they're not that connected. I mean, it's just, and they are older. They're in their late 20s, and they have children. And then it gets to that, too. For anybody out there, what happens is, as they get older, they get married, they have kids, and now they don't really care that much. They kind of move on with their lives if you're in that situation. But the second situation I found myself in, the dad and I would live 4 minutes apart. We did it on purpose, so they could go back and forth. And it was easier, but it wasn't easy with us. And the really hard part is dealing with your emotions, and then dealing with your children and trying to make it normal, in a different way. So.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but what I liked about it is that you kept it. You say it's for young people. Yeah, the beginning maybe, but I was actually learning a lot. And I'm 5 years out of it. And I was like, you know what? There is some wisdom in this, because you also don't hear a lot about what to do. There aren't a lot of books out there on what to do.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us are just doing the best we can. And then not really, but this gave some concrete ways of like I love about, teach your children how to cook. I love that. That was I was like, oh yes, why didn't I do that? I should have done that more. Or involving them like that,
Right. Yeah.
So did you have to, you went back to work, right? You obviously, you're the primary caretaker. You had to work, right?
I had to work, but I guess I was lucky in a way that I was able to, because I was the only sole parent, I really wanted to find work that enabled me to work from home and to work around his school schedule. So I used my writing skills, basically. I learned how to be a grant writer. And that helped me. I did a lot of work for nonprofits, and just that's really been my bread and butter the last several years. And that's work I can do from anywhere, and it's really enabled me to kind of just be around and be home when I need to be. And I'm just not a real office 9-to-5 type of person anyway. I don't do well in that kind of environment, so it's worked well for both of us.
Yeah, and I saw that you do a lot of writing, like even when you travel, like you're doing a lot of writing, weren't you?
Yep, my work is definitely portable. I still write grants, and I do ghostwriting and sometimes copywriting, but mostly still some grant writing and ghostwriting. So that I can do from anywhere in the world, and that has enabled us to do quite a bit of traveling over the past few years.
And I think that, like, so I have my two boys at home still. And I have to say, like, that is one way that we really connected, because they had their four older siblings, okay, who were kind of gone and doing their own thing. And I kept feeling like, how do I connect with these two boys? And so what I did was I started traveling with them. And it is a crazy way, because you get them away from the house, and they don't always get along. They've got a 4-year difference in age between them, and so when we're at home, it's one's doing one thing. But I also homeschool, so that was another one of your advice. But I always homeschooled, and I was like, so I have them now. I don't now. When they get to high school, they usually go to high school, but I homeschool through high school, and I did with my other children too. But so the one is in high school now, but it disconnects them. I still have the one at home. But last year, they were talking about California one day, and I was like, you know what? We're going to California. Booked it, got a really cheap, good deal. I mean, it's amazing what you can do. For anybody out there who's a single mom and says, I can't do that, I don't have the money. You know what? It's easier now than it's ever been to get a deal,
Oh, yeah.
And they don't care anyway. I'm here to tell you, because my ex is very wealthy, okay? And he'll take them, someplace, but like expensive, but then he goes off on his own, or I don't know, it's just different. But when I take him, we're like in a motel room. I don't know, there's just something to that, cheaper way of doing it, that you find other things to do. So he's taking them to Disney World, and they're staying in some Disney World hotel or whatever. I take them to California, we're staying in a motel, we're traveling around in the car, we're looking at different things that don't cost money. I don't know. I mean, as a travel writer, I'm sure you understand that, but I don't want people to think like I can't do it. There's no money, because I really think that there are ways that you can.
I really should write the next book, The Badass Single Mom's Guide to Traveling with Your Kids, I think, because I have a lot to say about that subject.
Oh my God, you really should, because I know that is really, because I would think that people would say, that would be the first thing they'd say, because we, as a single mom, we don't have necessarily, a lot of, we think it's going to be too much, but I really think you should do that. I think it would be really helpful, because that really helped me. It really did.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, wow, you've inspired me now. I might have to go do that.
Please do, because I can't, so I want you to do it. So I don't write. Yeah. I just interview, so you go write it.
Loads of ways. Anytime any of my friends are talking about trying to book a trip to Europe or wherever, and I'm always like, not the traditional way. Look, let me send you to these websites, because here's where you're going to find, I feel like I've developed a lot of great hacks along the way. And I've certainly read a lot of, there's some great people out there writing about, how to live that way. I mean, Tim Ferriss, of course, and Chris Gilbo, the Nonconformity website. So there are some really great materials out there, but not everybody still knows about them. If they're just not in your vista, in your sort of like field of awareness. I mean, there's so much information in this world. We're constantly overloaded. We can only know so much at one time. So until you're like looking for that one thing, then you wouldn't necessarily know. So
I think you should put it under the single badass thing.
Yes, absolutely.
I think
absolutely,
because that is totally different than Tim Ferriss. I wouldn't even look to Tim Ferriss to tell me how to travel. Like that would be so out of. He is not married. He doesn't have children. Like I would be like, what does he know about it? He doesn't.
Maybe not even a good example, but
No. I know what you were saying though, but I'm like, yeah, that's why it's in your world. Like he wouldn't be like. I would go to you. Because you're single. You've done it like that way. Like you understand kids and you understand. I think that would be an amazing book. So.
Yeah. Cool. I need to work on that, Michelle.
Well, I could, you know what? I'm trying to look for a cruise to take the boys on. And I know nothing about cruises. One of them mentioned, I've never been on a cruise. And I was like, I know there are cheap ways to go on a cruise. I got to start looking into that, So.
Okay, I'll have to search that, because I'm not too up on the cruise life either.
Yeah, I want to go for a weekend, like not a extended cruise, but something like out of New York or something, like something accessible. And and I've heard people say, like they have cruise things online. I don't know. I think it would be amazing if you did that, because you're more traveled than I am. So I'm just trying to do it on my own and figure it out. And I can get in the car and say, okay, we're going to the shore for the day. We're going to go to Atlantic City today. That's easy, to do. But I just want to encourage other moms that is something that's really bonding. I wish I would have done it more with my older children, but I didn't really think of it back then, And
also, the thing about it, homeschooling, it gives you that flexibility to go at times that are not peak travel times.
Exactly.
And to save a lot of money that way.
Yes, absolutely. It definitely helps to homeschool. I don't regret and that's why I like to take them places too, because it's kind of enriches their schooling also. I think traveling is one of the major, I don't know. I always looked at it as a really good tool, because that's something they have to learn how to do, or to not be intimidated as an adult. If you've taught your son how to travel, he will never be intimidated as an adult how to travel. Like traveling will never be a thing that would seem hard for him. A lot of people, I did not grow up traveling. It is more difficult for me to think about. And I was like, I got my kids passports. I was like, we're going to go places. I want to teach you how to do this so that you don't ever be in, it's a big world out there,
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. It's a very important life skill that kind of gives you confidence, and also just opens up their eyes about the world that, we can all live in a bubble wherever we happen to live. And, it's a big world out there.
Yes.
To see it. Even if you're just traveling, around half of the United States. I mean, this is a ginormous country. It's hard to cover all of it. And then there's an even bigger world beyond that.
Yeah, and London is on my list, too. I've never been to Europe. Never.
Oh, London should be a first stop then. It's an amazing city. It really is.
But everybody I was just reading this morning, I was reading travel, like, people, and they were like, well, it's really expensive, you gotta to do this, and I was like, there's gotta be a cheaper way. I just know there's gotta be a cheaper way.
It's not that bad, especially now. The dollar's doing better than it was in the past few years against the pound, because of all the Brexit fears and everything. So it's not that bad. And if you stay in Airbnbs and different ways, but I guess I'll have to have a whole chapter on London, since I've spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, and I'm half English, so I feel it like pulling me. I feel it like as I get older, I'm like, I just really want to see it. I really want to experience London. I've always I've loved English history. I've loved everything about England, so I really feel like I need to see it.
There's so much to see, and it's such a really diverse, multicultural city, and there's so much going on that you can see for cheap. I mean, really great theater, arts, and all free. Sorry, what did you say?
I said maybe you'll have to hook me up on how to do that for take my boys there.
Absolutely.
So anyway, but okay, so you're writing, like, when did you really experience, especially the novels? I mean, this is, your advice book. I mean, it's small. Everybody should read it. If you're a single mom, I just highly suggest it. You'll get something out of it. And it's a small little book. You can get through it. But your novels, like, when did you decide, like, I want to be a novelist? Because that's a totally different thing.
Yeah. Great question. Well, my mother was a novelist, a sort of, I guess, semi-successful novelist, you could say, but this was, way before the whole self-publishing boom and all of that. So she published one novel, and then wrote several others that she was not able to find a publisher for. So I don't know. I guess for a long time I felt like I couldn't really be a novelist. So I went into other areas of writing. Like I did, I've done a lot of screenwriting and studying screenwriting, and I used to be an actor. So that's my background is performing arts and theater. So it was really, and my mother's passed on now, so it was only in the past few years that I was like, hey, maybe I can do this. Maybe I just never felt like I really could, because that was her thing and she didn't quite get it off the ground in the way she had hoped to. But, and I had a screenplay that wasn't kind of working too much as a screenplay, and a friend of mine who's a very successful YA author said to me, that would be a really edgy YA. And it was this idea of this character, Grace Steele, who in that original iteration, I mean, she wrote what she considered to be like erotica, kind of erotica light,
Right.
not anything,
Right.
really out there. But, and then had, was like a really, good girl, like honor student by day, writing this blog. And he said he thought it would be a kind of edgy YA novel. And I was like, well, why not? Let me try. So I kind of converted the idea from a screenplay into a novel. And then that one it was my first one. That took me a long time to finish, like so long I'm embarrassed to say. Hopefully the next ones will not, I don't think they should take nearly as long. And then the contemporary women's fiction, the Tess Bloom, that was also, and still is, a romantic comedy screenplay. And I decided to novelize my screenplay so I can have more options with it in the future, and hopefully, option it. So now I have the book and the screenplay.
And that's what I was thinking. It's really funny because I do read books for the thought of it being a movie. I'm one of those people that I'm like, and when I was reading Tess, I was like, this is like a Jennifer Aniston movie. I could picture Jennifer Aniston playing Tess. To me, that seemed like the perfect fit, didn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of what I had in mind too.
Yeah, so, and I'm so happy to hear that you are a screenwriter because, a lot of people when they write books, they need to go get they got to find a screenwriter that's going to give them the vision of the book, and that doesn't always happen. But you are a screenwriter, so you have control of that.
Yes, and I think that, whenever you are able to own your own copyright, you have much more, you just will have much more power just owning your own intellectual property. It's really important. Like I read somewhere, like, just imagine if J.K. Rowling had been a screenwriter instead of a writer, you would never have heard of her. Right. Really, you would never have heard of her. Right. I mean, maybe few people, but because she was a novelist first and she owned the copyrights to all of her books, and then they were, of course, so successful, it's a completely different ballgame. So anyway, I mean, I'm not comparing myself in any way. I shouldn't be so lucky.
It's interesting to think about because people do compare themselves to, it's like, what did she do right? So
yeah, sure. I mean, and I think that for me, because I am such a visual person, I come from that more script writing background. I always want to approach every novel as if it could be a movie. Because, that's just what I love. And of course I love reading. I love novels, but I just come from that angle. So
well, you always want to see, what I always like is that because I read the book and then I want to see it come alive. And of course, I never think that they're as good as the book because I'm a reader. And I'm always like, but every once in a while I get shocked and I go, oh yeah, that is, that was pretty good. They did a pretty good job with that. But it could be because the person wrote the screenplay too. I have to look into that. But I think that in this world of owning your rights to your stuff, there are a lot of people I talk to that really push the editor, like a publisher, like you need to be with a publisher who tells you what to do, when to do it, and, that's the way they work. But I really kind of feel like that's coming to a close. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But, you definitely have more control over what you want to do anyway. You're not beholden to that way of writing anymore.
Right. I mean, we have to do a ton of work, of course, to find readers and to make it all happen. But I think you have to do a lot of that work anyway, even if you're traditionally published.
Yes. But I definitely saw Grace Steele as a movie. I mean, now that I know now I know why, because you are a screenwriter. That's why your stories flow the way that they do. And because with Grace Steele, I'm reading it and I'm in the grocery line and something had come up and I'm like, what? And then I look around, like I say it out loud, and I was like, but it is because that's how it evolves, like a movie where it shocks you at these certain points where I think I know what's going to happen, and then, you kind of shock me, and I love that, so.
It's in here.
Yes. So anyway, I just want to, I wish I had the books because this is usually when I hold the book up and I don't have books, but I'm sorry.
A little behind schedule on the print on demand, but it's coming. They're both coming this month.
It's coming, and I'm really happy about that. I don't, when people I interview decide not to put it in print, I'm like, oh, you really should, because there are readers out there like me. I mean, I will read my Kindle, and it's good for travel and everything, but I usually buy the book, and, weird people are still out there. Like, we still like books.
And I would say I'm going to be putting out an Audible version for each of those books as well.
Oh, good.
Because I narrate my own books and I have my own home recording studio, so I can get it done.
Oh,
It's
that's
just
awesome. And you have the dramatic background. I mean, that's
Yeah.
perfect. So you know
Yeah.
how to, you know how to be dramatic in the good parts, because that helps a lot. And this is an age where people get a choice. You know, a lot of times I do listen to audio. If I'm traveling, I'll listen to the audio. You know, so I think it all should be out there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Holly. This has been I'm so happy to have met you, and I'm so happy I got to read your books. I loved every one of them. They were amazing, and I can't wait to read your travel guide.
I know, you've inspired me. I need to get to work on that, actually.
I hope so, because I really think that it's out there. And like I said, any single mom out there, you just get the book. Just read it on your Kindle if you want. But it's, it really gives some great advice, and you're not alone. And, and if you follow a little bit of that, you will feel so much better. You'll feel so much more capable of being able to be a single mom. And that's what's important, for our kids and everything. But anyway, Thank you. Have a great day, Holly. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.